Maybe you've been finding a way to incorporate some type of exercise or yoga in your life over the break. And maybe you haven't, and both are fine. So for all of us, today is just about moving our bodies again, putting ourselves in those yoga shapes again, checking out which parts of the body have stayed really well and feel good, and which parts are maybe a little stiff or need a little breath breathed into them. So let's start by finding our sitting bones, connecting us to the ground, maybe a little rocking back and forth to really find them. We are grounding ourselves through our seat. So however you've chosen to sit, it is your seat that is connecting you to earth. Then from your midsection, from your core, you've got the strength, just a little bit of awareness there to be able to let your spine lift and lengthen naturally. Your shoulders stay relaxed, your neck easy. Close your eyes and take a couple of breaths. And these breaths are just allowing us to be here. And while we're just sitting and breathing, we'll pose the question to ourselves. How would I like to feel at the end of today's class? We'll start with just that short time frame, and then we'll move to a longer one. How would I like to feel at the end of today's class? And now a further question. How would you like to feel at the end of the next few months? We think about maybe 3 months where we start to transition from winter into spring. How would you like to feel by the time we get to spring? And is there anything that you would like to feel more of? Whether anything has arisen for you or not, now take 2 breaths, just release that contemplating. Let go of any thoughts that have popped up. Excellent. And then we'll take a thumb into your hands. And we did so much great work with the chakras that we are going to incorporate them into our practice a little more regularly. So today we're going to breathe in as we lift our arms up in a moment. And we're going to use the 3-3-9 breath for each of these opening poses. Breathing in for 3, holding for 3, breathing out for 9. And we're going to, if you're willing or want to, we're going to have focus in the chakras. So we always start with the root. So finding the base of your spine, right down to the tailbone. That's where we'll bring our attention as we breathe the 339 and as we lift the arms up now. Bring the hands together. And same thing, 339, root chakra. And of course, if any of that feels like not right for you today, just do your own. Breathe your own way. Focus on anything that works for you. And this can now come either behind the neck or in front of the neck. Breathe. Focus in the root if you like. Full extension, breathing in. Hold for 3. And as you breathe out for 9, slowly bring the hands towards the heart. And same breathing. Hands at the heart, focus at the root. Excellent. We'll stretch out the arms here, back of the wrists resting on the knees or hands on the mat beside you. And of course, if you prefer to be standing through this or sitting on a chair, make any changes to your position as needed. Let's lift an ear and 339 breath. Now in the low abdomen chakra, the sacral chakra, just below the navel, big space. And as usual, we'll do each side twice. Over to the first side again when you're ready. And the final side. Excellent. Side to side now with the head looking at a spot on the side wall, keeping the back of the neck long, and the 339 breath still focused in the sacral low abdomen chakra. To the other side when you're ready. Bring your chin towards your chest. Stretch out the back of the neck. And now we'll focus in the solar plexus, this big area, big like a beach ball in your midsection, including the area of the ribs. Walk the eyes across the floor, up the wall and across the ceiling to wherever your neck wants to take you. Open your mouth and another 3 through 9 breath focused in the solar plexus. Walk the eyes back down. Slowly until the chin is again connected to the chest. For another breath, focused solar plexus. Let your head float forward. If you're sitting, rest an arm across your lap and bring the other arm up to your ear. If you're standing, then the down arm can just hang or position itself for support on your hip. We'll focus in the heart space now. So breathing in to get taller, really lengthening this whole side, including the side ribs on the long side first. 3 through 9 in the heart. On your second breath, we'll take it a little more over, and you get to decide how much over is the right amount for you. And another 3 through 9 breath in the heart. Change sides. First, really lengthening upward. 3 through 9 in the heart. And more over. Excellent. Stretch one arm in front of you, but drop your shoulder down. Stretch the other arm off to the side and drop that shoulder down. Look past your side fingers and take that little twist towards the back. And now we're moving to the throat chakra. Big space, front of the throat, back of the neck as well. Change the arms, drop the shoulders, look past the fingers, take that little twist, and 3 through 9 in the throat. Eagle arms, or alternately, holding up the top arm using the bottom arm, giving it a pull across the body so you feel that gentle tug through the back of the shoulder. Find what works for you here. Excellent. And let's do a 3 through 9 breath in the third eye, a little bit above the brows and in between them. Change sides. And notice if it feels the same or different as you change sides. 3-3-9 breath in the third eye. Open that up, bring your arms behind you, interlace your fingers, pull your wrists apart from each other so that we open across the chest. Start to lift the arms up and away from the body. Excellent. And if possible, let's try 3-3-9 breath with focus at the crown of the head. Release those arms, give yourself a hug, and now just breathe normally. Breathing into your low back, noticing how your mobility is there now. Other arm on top. Excellent. And let's have a sip of water before we move to standing. So if you felt like you were able to follow along, I'm sorry, we are going to transition to standing here. If you were following along there with the chakras and that 3-3-9 breath, it doesn't matter if you were or you weren't, but if you were, that's definitely what we do in intermediate class. So those of you who have been in intermediate will recognize the use of the chakras as part of the focus in that opening sequence. All right, we're letting go of the socks, getting ready for a little more activity and movement. Just gonna turn my heat down in case the noise is bothering you. Let's find our feet. Let's ground ourselves like we've learned to do well. Lift up your 5 toes, lay them down one at a time. Feel the 5 toes of the one foot really anchoring you to the ground. Then lift the other 5. Other toes of the other foot. Lay them down one at a time. And feel your feet connecting you to the ground. If possible, get a little sense of there's more weight on the outside of the feet rather than the inside arches. So see if you can position your weight where you take a little bit more on those outer edges of the feet. Keep the knees bent. Let's stand well here. We're grounded well through our feet. We're soft through the knees so that it's easy for our backs. We're lengthening our spines tall. Our shoulders are low and easy. Our neck, no tension. And we're both grounding ourselves down from the waist on down through the feet and simultaneously lifting up through, all the way up through the crown of the head. Getting as tall as we can be. Let's take 2 breaths. This is your mountain pose. Feel how stable this is for you. Stability is one of those things that you may wish to feel more of. It could become an intention for you. One more breath. Excellent. We'll check in with our spines now as we go into a forward release from here. So tuck your chin towards your chest and take a breath. Notice if there's any remaining tension there in the back of the neck. And then guide yourself slowly down. Fingers are slowly heading towards toes. The purpose of this is to really check in with the back, all parts of the back. So we go slowly with lots of breath, So you can notice, are there any spots that are feeling tight? Any areas where you need to spend a little more time, bring a little more breath into them. Make sure your knees are bent. And if you get to a place where this doesn't feel right for your body, maybe you get to a spot in the back that just feels a little scary, then come on back up and just work where you're comfortable. If it's feeling okay, then eventually you might get to the place where your hands touch the ground. And then you've got the option of holding each hand at the elbow and really dangling your head, hanging here from the hips. And let's straighten one leg if it feels okay. So you're always keeping one knee bent. We'll get a nice strength and lengthening of the back leg by straightening the one. Then bend both your knees and lengthen the other leg. Bend the knees again, contract your core, and slowly rise up. My head is the last part of you to float forward. And let's take a little face massage here. So finding any spots that might be carrying a bit of tension. Maybe the jaw, the temples. Good. Let's equalize all of that. So making your gentle fist, punching side of the fist goes into the low back with each hand. Bring those elbows towards each other, wide open across the chest here. And the back stays exactly as it is. It's only the head that looks up above you. Open your mouth and breathe. Walk the eyes back to center and shake out your arms. Great. Have another sip of water. Let's take a small step forward. Front knee bent, back leg straight. And if possible, you've got all your toes pointed forward. That doesn't work for everybody, but see if it's possible for you. Then take the opposite arm as your forward knee and give it a bend. Either you're going to give a good push on your top elbow, or you're going to reach around behind you and see if you can link up your fingers there in the back. You can also use a strap and to hold, if you're gradually trying to get your fingers a little closer to each other in this position, a strap can help you work your way there. Let's take 2 more breaths. We'll be bending the front knee a little more. And open up. Elbows are wide, fingers are spread, shoulders are low. And let's take 3 breaths here. Pressing the back heel into the floor a little more. Good. Change sides. And the other leg has stepped forward with the front knee bent, back leg straight. All toes pointed forward if possible. Great. Now it's the other arm, the opposite arm as the forward knee is bending, and you're going to push on that elbow or find your fingers behind you and take 3 big breaths. So you might also decide on an intention that's related to a part of your body. So for me, for example, I know that my hamstrings, my calves get very tight, and that's leading to a lot of tightness in my Achilles tendon, in my ankle and heel. Let's open up those arms now. Wide elbows, spread fingers, drop shoulders, 3 breaths. And I know that stretching can make a difference to the health of the Achilles and certainly the tightness through my legs. And so while I do some stretches all the time, the yoga practice definitely helps with some stretching, I think I need a more concerted daily effort of stretching specifically for that part of my body. So I'm contemplating that as part of my intention and maybe New Year's practice. Good, we're coming out of that. Shake out those legs and take a wide step. We're pointing one foot out at the short end of your mat. So set of toes pointed out, bending the knee over those toes, taking the other toes and making them 45 degrees. So everything is roughly pointed the same direction, but they're a little more angled on the far leg. Bend as much as feels right for you. Play with it a little bit. Bend the knee and straighten up. Bend the knee. How are we doing there in the inner thighs? See if you can keep the outside of the knee in line with your pinky toe. So we're feeling probably some opening that's happening in this one side of your hip. See if you can also open the other hip. And bend the knee just slightly more. And allow the arms to float up. Keep the shoulders low. Look past your fingers and take 3 breaths. Excellent. Imagining that you have a wall behind you that is supporting you, and that you've got the back of your head, the back of your shoulders, the back of your glutes are all touching this imaginary wall. We're trying to keep all of that true, keep all of that good alignment as you tip and rest your arm here on the bent knee. Then take the free arm up and over to reach past your ear for 3 breaths. And send that hand skyward. And you decide how your back is today. It's more supportive for the back to stay here resting on the thigh. If the back feels strong, you can open up this bottom arm, reaching the hand towards the floor, other hand up towards the sky. Wide, wide open through your chest. And 2 more breaths. And then we're going to flip the arms. The one that's down is going up. The one that was up slides down the back of the leg. Gaze up and past those top fingers. Feel long through both sides of the ribs and breathe. Bring it back to center. Excellent. Take your feet and turn them the other way. And again, let's play a little bit with that bent knee. Bend and then straighten a bit. How are things on this side? And see if you can get the outside of the knee in line with the pinky toe. Notice the opening that creates in the hip. See if we can open the other hip as well. Maybe bend a little more with the knee. Let the arms float up, drop the shoulders, look past the fingers, and 3 breaths. And as always, just make this work for yourself. So if you find any of this isn't right for today, get a chair or push against a wall or get the support you need to find whatever way works for you for the pose. Imagine that wall behind you now. Stay connected to it as we tip and rest on the thigh of the bent knee. Bring the other arm overhead and reach past your ear. You're lengthening both sides of the ribs and breathing. Top arm reaches skyward. Bottom arm can stay here, supporting the low back, or if the back is strong, reach for ground. 3 breaths, positioning the head wherever is comfortable for your neck. And we'll switch the arms. The one that's down now goes up. The one that was up slides down the back of your leg. Gaze up past your top fingers. And 3 more breaths. Imagine making more space between your ribs. Excellent. Come to center. That's a lot of hard work. Have another sip of water. Shake out anything that needs it. And let's come down to hands and knees. Now we're going to do a new move today that I learned over the break. So from your hands and knees position, we're simply going to take one leg off to the side. So first put yourself in good positioning with the hands underneath the shoulders, the knees underneath the hips, and then extend one leg out to the side. So hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. I've got my one leg is still in the hands and knees regular position, but my other leg is extended out long. And then I've got a couple of options with that foot of the long leg. I can see if I can put the foot down on the ground so that all 4 corners of the foot are in contact with the floor, or I can just rest on the inner edge of the foot. We're trying to get a little more stretch for the inner thighs, and so you get a lot of control over how much you want to extend that leg. If you take it out longer, does that change what you feel? If you change the foot position so that the 4 corners of the foot are in contact with the floor, or change to the resting on the inner edge of the foot, does that change what you feel? You're trying to keep your other hip still above the knee. So even though you're extending out one leg, we don't want to go so far to get the other hip out of alignment. Once you've found a spot that's a good stretch for you here, let's make sure that the rest of the body is also participating. So we're lifting up through the chest to feel really broad across the back of the shoulder blades. We're keeping the head in line with the spine. We're spreading the fingers wide, unless your wrists are giving you trouble, in which case, do this on your fist shape with your hand. 3 more breaths. Gently and slowly drag that leg a little closer to the body. Start to bend the knee and return it to the hands and knees position. Excellent. And let's take the other leg out. And I've got the wall in my way, so readjust. So just start with hands and knees, and then the other leg extends. And same thing, you're just playing with how far can you stretch it to give you a good stretch in your inner thighs. How does it feel to change the foot position, either four corners of the foot in contact with floor or resting on the inner edge of the foot. And again, spread the fingers wide. Lift your chest up slightly to feel broad and wide across the upper back and shoulder blades. Lift your head to be in line with the spine. And take 3 breaths. And slowly drag that leg closer to your body, bend the knee, and return to hands and knees. Excellent. And let's just settle it back down in pose of child. Bring your hips toward heels. Arms can stay long in front of you on the mat. Start to bring your head a little lower. And 3 breaths here. Round yourself back up. Good. If you're okay here on your knees for a moment, then let's spend just 1 breath noticing the stretch that comes for the thighs by simply sitting in this position. If that doesn't work for you, of course, you can be a little bit higher up on the knees instead. Excellent. Now, from hands and knees, we're going to step 1 foot in between the hands if you can. So again, we're getting a little extra into our inner thighs. We're going to be walking back and forth. So if you find the pressure on your back knee is bothering you, then curl your mat up or get your socks or pillow, something under that back knee for a bit of cushioning. And then walk your fingers back as you lengthen your front leg. Walk your fingers forward as you bend. And we're just going to go back and forth that way. You get to decide what pace, what depth, what amount of movement here is working for your body. And breathe through it. Sometimes our low backs get a little sore when our hamstrings or glutes are tight. And so here we're both stretching our groin, our inner thighs, and our hamstrings, the back of the legs, hopefully giving a little bit of help to our low backs. Let's do one last one on this side. Excellent. Go back to hands and knees. Reposition the cushioning under that other knee so that you can step your other foot forward. And we'll hang out here for a moment, just noticing how this feels on this side. Take a breath. Is it the same or different as the first side? And then when you're ready, start to walk the fingers back, lengthening this leg. Walk the fingers forward. Again, at your own pace. And breathe with it. Let's do one more. Beautiful. Come to lying on your back. We're going to do a little bit with our core. Again, there might be some body stretching intentions or goals like mine to stretch out my Achilles, or there might be some strengthening goals this year. I'm going to incorporate a little bit more core and arm work into our practice in the coming weeks. You can decide how much of that you wish to engage in, of course. So come to lying on your back comfortably. Take a moment to just let yourself get settled here on the floor. Feel the support of the ground underneath you. Take a couple of breaths. Notice that gentle curve of your low back off the ground. Unless your back is really bothering you today, and in which case it might feel better to purposely press the curve out, to really press the low back into the floor. So we're going to work with our bridge, because it does so many good things at one time. But before we do, we need to make sure that we're strengthening our core. So you know the Kegel, that's that internal little muscle. It's the one that you would use if you were asked to stop the flow of urine. It's that internal feeling. So squeeze the Kegel and then squeeze the low abdominal muscles. They often act together. And you probably won't notice that you're squeezing your multipodi, your back muscles, but usually these things work in tandem. Let all of that go. And then squeeze again. Kegel, low abs, like you're pulling your low abdominals towards your back, towards your spine. And then release. Sometimes we imagine a little elevator starting to lift, so it's low in the groin and the elevator is lifting and rising up as you squeeze the muscles. Holding that elevator at the top, whatever you're imagining the top to be, and then letting the elevator slowly descend. And then let all of that go. And if you need to move the hips a little bit, wiggle it out. This time, again, use the elevator image if you like it. Start to lift. Let the elevator rise as you squeeze the Kegels, squeeze the low abdominals. Place your hands on the ground, pressing the palms into the floor, keeping the core squeezed. Now press your big toes into the floor and lift your tailbone. And then keep on going. Lift the next vertebra, and the next, and the next. Until we are up in bridge, making sure that the knees have stayed hip width apart. They haven't widened or narrowed. And let's head back down. One vertebra at a time takes you back down to the floor with control. Releasing even your core muscles at the bottom. And then re-engaging. Core, press the big toes into the mat. Lift the tailbone, and then keep lifting one vertebra at a time. Holding at the top for a moment, and then back down we go, one vertebra at a time. And you're really paying attention to how this is in your back. So hopefully this is feeling like a little bit of a stretch because we're articulating the spine. But if your back has been injured or this doesn't feel right, of course, skip it. Take something else that feels better. Let's go again, and we're going to add variations. So squeeze the core, press the toes, lift the tailbone. One vertebra at a time lifts up. And once you're holding with your hips high, we're not going to do that little dip. So we're going to take one hip and drop it 1 inch and then squeeze it back up into place. And drop the other hip 1 inch, squeeze it back up. We're strengthening those low back muscles, those multifidi with this pose. Keep going. Drop one hip, squeeze it back up. Good, and then slowly come down, one vertebra at a time. And let's release all of that by hugging the knees into the chest, rocking side to side. Good. Keeping one knee into the chest. You can take your fingers and interlace around the hamstring of that one knee as you lengthen the other leg out and let it hover off the ground. So we've got one knee pulled in, the other leg long, but hovering off the ground for a full breath in and out. And then we're changing sides. Bring the other knee in, stretching the other leg out. Holding for a full breath. If you're feeling like, oh yeah, my core is good, I'm still strong, then see if you can do it without the hands. Just lay them on the floor beside you. And hold for a breath. If that feels like too much, get the hands back in there again to help out. And go back and forth one more time. Excellent. Hug both knees into your chest. Rock side to side. Good. And while we're here, with the feet back down, we're going to cross the ankle of one leg onto the thigh of the other. Keep the arms open here in cactus position, elbows coming straight out from the shoulders and the hands at right angles. Lift the foot off the ground, pulling the hips and legs towards you for 3 breaths. Good. Change sides. Lift the foot off the ground. 3 breaths here. Noticing if the sides feel the same or different from each other. Excellent. Then bring both knees in towards your chest. Open your arms out long from shoulders on out along the floor and flop those knees over to one side. And we're just letting them open up here for 3 breaths. Should be no effort, just releasing. Your eyes can look straight above or can look the opposite way of your knees. Let's bring that back to center and go over to the other side. Knees flop. Get your neck position where it's comfortable for 3 breaths. Good. Come back to center and flip yourself over onto your stomach. So As mentioned, we're going to start strengthening our arms a little bit more. This one is both good for the back and an arm strengthener. And get your face resting with the weight of the head on the chin. Position your hands directly underneath your shoulders and let your elbows come in close to the body. The elbows are not on the ground, but they're tucked in like little wings. Your hands and arms do all the work. So relax your core, relax your hips, relax your back. Do nothing through your low body. Do everything through your hands as you push your chin and chest up a little bit off the ground. And then back down. All arms here. I'm going to do this 6 times today. Slowly up, slowly down. Not using the back or the core. And see if you can imagine the low back getting longer or more spacious. Each time you rise, you're making more room between the vertebrae. Height does not matter on this one. You could do this as a very tiny movement, especially if the back is bothering you. This could be just barely coming off the ground, but really staying relaxed through the core. Once you feel complete here, touch your chin, touch your forehead down to release your neck. Relax your arms and rest your head on each cheek for one breath. And let's get ready for Shavasana. You can simply roll yourself back onto your back, or if you prefer, you can sit. Add any warmer layers. So I've been doing a bit of reading about some of the processes that take place when we are deeply relaxed. And it's good stuff. Being deeply relaxed can do a lot for our well-being. So I'll bring some of that learning to you over the next few weeks. But the point for today is that when we're in Shavasana and we're aiming for some relaxation, that's as important as any other part of our yoga practice, and not to be diminished in any way. So even if you're struggling, and even if some of these poses don't work well for you or aren't the right thing for you, if you can do some deep relaxing through this Shavasana or through whatever other practices you have in your life, that is excellent and going to do amazing things for you. So let's get as comfortable as we possibly can get here. Whatever position you've chosen, is there anything that you can do to get 10% even more comfortable? Sometimes when we slow down and start to rest, there are thoughts that pop into our minds, pardon me, either memories or plans. That's a normal process, and it's not a bad thing. We're offering ourselves an opportunity, though, to have a little control over those. So whenever a thought pops in, it's completely fine. We have a choice to follow that thought, to think about that thought, to really work with that thought in that moment, or to set it aside, let it drift on by. and allow ourselves the emptiness in our minds, either for the next thought to come or for some true relaxed bliss. So let's ensure that the body is letting go. Wiggle your toes and then let them be still. Feel a little heaviness through your heels. Let go through the ankles, the shins, calves. Allow your knees to be soft in whatever position you've chosen. Feel the big muscles of the thighs and the hamstrings. Letting go here. Relaxing and letting gravity hold them up. Bring a little awareness into the hips. We opened a bit through the inner thighs, through the groins, through the hips. Notice if there's any new awareness there, or any tension that perhaps still needs to be let go. Take a moment to notice your stomach, or that the sense of the area in charge of digestion. Often that's an area where we can get tense or tight, especially if there's some anxiety. Notice if there's any tenseness, tightness in the stomach now. And is there anything that you can do to let go there? And similarly, through the area of the chest. Sometimes our chests feel tight, especially if there's a little anxiety, something happening that causes us to hold our breath and get tight. I invite you, just notice if that's present now. And take a couple of deep, deep opening breaths for the lungs. Allowing your chest to expand and then release on the breath out. And let's use that same breath practice to heal any areas of the back that remain tight, starting in the low back. Is there anything you're aware of in the low back that could use some breath expansion? And bring your awareness a little higher to the middle back. Same thing. Between the shoulder blades, expanding breath there. And in the upper back and shoulders. Notice your neck now. Can you breathe and release any tension in the neck? The jaw, stay relaxed. And all the muscles of the face soften. Slack around your mouth. Loose through your cheeks. Soft around your eyes. And across your forehead. Breathe and let those muscles go. Also relaxing throughout the head, the skull, the scalp. Imagine releasing there as well. Now bringing your attention to your breath, just simple breath. Breath in with a short pause, breath out with a short pause. We'll simply breathe for the next 1 minute, starting now. While you're in this comfortable, relaxed state, ask yourself the question again. Is there anything that I would like more of in the next few months? Is there any way that I would like to feel differently in the next few months? And now take 3 deeper breaths, making sure that you breathe all the way out each time. If you're lying down, turn onto your side and slowly push yourself up to sitting. If you're sitting already, with your hands on your knees, we'll start to make some big circles. And we're keeping the head in line with the spine and just circling from the waist and hip area. Using the hands to help push us around. So there's less work for the back. And start to add your breathing as you go around here. One more in this direction. And then change directions. One more. And find your way back to sitting tall. Take your thumb into your hand. Inhale as you raise your arms up. Just 2 easy breaths here per position. Breathing in through the nose, all the way out through the mouth. Hands together, shoulders low. Hands behind or in front of the neck. Full extension as you breathe in. Slow hands to heart, breathing out. And a breath at the heart. Namaste.